Alright guys, hello, welcome back to LG's Garage. So I am assembling my front SD coilover strut with the spring. So I just thought I would go over the pieces that you need to put together and the order that you need to put them uh, onto the shock. So uh, there are instructions that come with the SD coilovers, and they're actually pretty good. But doing this for the first time, it's always nice to know things up front so that you can order parts and not wait a week for a little washer to come in while you have everything assembled and you realize you're missing it. So hopefully this is helpful for you. So the first thing, my car is a 2009 328 Xi, so it's X drive. So it has maybe some different pieces that some of the other rear-wheel drive cars do. So for example, the first one, you can see at the SD coilover instructions. There's a sleeve that says you need to remove if you have aluminum upper spring perch and keep it if you have a steel one. It becomes quite obvious because the steel one has a flat surface on it and the aluminum one has a little tapered end. So obviously you would remove it to have a little tapered end, or you would keep it. And this is where that sleeve is. So it's right here, and it just kind of comes off so you can kind of see what they're talking about here. So essentially for X drive, and well, not for X drive, but for steel perch, you would keep that in place. So this is what you get with the SD coilovers that you can see here. And what I would do is lower the spring, the lower spring support or lower spring perch down, and then lock it in place. And that way you can put on your spring and put on all the other pieces, and then you can install everything, and you don't actually need to compress the spring with a spring compressor. So you can actually install everything without it. You still probably need the spring compressor to take the old spring off the old strut, so you may still want to get one, but to assemble it, you don't need it. So you lower this down, put the spring on. So this is how it comes. Obviously, you will take the nut off, and the one part that I transferred from the old strut was a little dust cover for the strut mount bearing. So that's the only part that I really kept. Everything else is new. If you are lucky enough to live in a southern climate, then you can probably reuse many things, but in northern climates, pretty much everything is a one-time use. Once you take it out, it's going to be in a horrible shape, so you'll need some bits and pieces, and hopefully this will show you what those are. So SD coilover strut. The next thing that goes on it would be the actual spring plate and spring perch. Before you put it onto the spring, you need to install a new rubber spring support. So this just slides on. Essentially, you cannot mess it up. There's only one way to put it on. So once you put that on, that goes here. Once you have that on it, there's a little washer that goes with the flat side onto the spring perch. So then you're going to see the spring perch come through. Next thing you're going to do is take your hopefully new strut mount. You're going to have a dust cap. You can either get a new one or reuse the existing one, which is what I've done. Just clean it up. It looked still in pretty decent shape, so we put that on just to cover it up. It may come off unless the grease is holding it, so you may just want to put it up here, upside down, and then it just goes like this. And then you should see the strut essentially coming through, not the strut, but yeah, the shock tower coming through, and you'll be able to thread your nut, or at least start onto it. And next thing you'll do, once you actually tighten everything down, there is a dust cap, so don't forget that. Put a dust cap. For cars with a X drive, I believe it's just for X drive. This is what BMW calls maybe a rough road package. There's this little plate or spacer. I think it's just for X drive, not sure. Maybe you can comment if I'm wrong on this, but this was on my car. It goes on the strut mount. There's only, again, one way to put it on, so you cannot really mess it up. As you can see, I have to kind of put it on like this, and this goes onto the strut mount. You don't put it on until you're ready to put it in the car, or else it will just keep falling off. You can see the alignment pin here, so you want to keep that notch side up on this little spacer. And then don't forget this little washer gasket. So I ordered a new one because the old one was just torn apart, and essentially you definitely want the gasket here, otherwise you're gonna have metal on metal contact with your strut tower, and that's probably not good. So just put that spacer on it. Again, don't forget your dust cap once you have everything tightened down. And that's pretty much all the pieces you need to assemble the strut. Then BMW recommends, replacing everything that you take out. So some other bits and pieces here. This is the lower strut housing bolt, and that's the bolt to tighten it. You really only need to replace the nut because that's the self-locking nut. But the reason I'm replacing the whole thing is my head snapped off. I had to punch it out, so I had to get a new bolt. Again, fun part of working on northern cars. 3 self-locking nuts for the top of the strut, right here once you put them through. And this was just the washer that I added on the spring perch. So those are all the bits and pieces. In terms of assembly, this is what comes with your SD coilovers, hopefully. So this is once you actually put it on, you can raise your, loosen the locking pin here, and you can raise the ride height, and this is how you adjust it. To unlock this, you would need number two Allen key. Sorry about the focus. And then you would also need number 7 Allen key to actually tighten the bolt, on top of the strut. So this one I happen to use a 7/8 socket. So it's a 7/8 socket that I've used for the actual nut, and you need to put the 6mm Allen key, through the socket. If you have a specialized tool, then you know what I'm talking about. You can put it through the socket, and then I just use self-locking pliers to keep it still with one hand, so it doesn't slip. And then what I've done is I actually took my 7/8 socket. I got this tip from another forum member, which was a great tip, thank you. So I just ground down the sides of the socket to fit my 7/8 crowfoot wrench on it, like this. And that way I can actually use my torque wrench and tighten the nut down properly, not just by feel. Or definitely don't use air tools or any kind of impact guns, because it may damage the actual shock seals inside. So this is what I've done. Just one other tip about the crow's foot wrench. If you put it on straight, so let me just focus this. So if you put it on straight onto your torque wrench, you're going to have to recalculate the torque, because you're effectively lengthening the bar, so therefore the torque value will change. However, if you put it on a 90-degree angle, which is what I've done, and keep it there, so at a 90-degree angle, so once you lock it in there and just keep it on like this, then the torque actually stays the same, because not to get into a physics class, but torque is determined by the distance from the center of the bolt to the actual point where you're applying the torque. So the actual lever length is what matters. So as long as you are essentially at a 90-degree angle and you are here, or if you need extensions, you can go up. But as long as this distance is the same, the torque value is the same. So hopefully this helps you put everything together. Again, 7/8 socket for the SD coilover, number 2 Allen to adjust the lower spring perch, number 6 to hold the shock from spinning while you torque everything down, and the torque value inside the instructions is 37 foot-pounds or 50 Newton meters. So hopefully this helps, and good luck.